secondary dominants. It's something that you should already know from last semester, but I'm hoping that by recapping that now, either you will remind yourself or you're going to see it in a different way, or maybe even add to what you already know. We have been working with the 7 chords within the major scale. The first one, major 7th chord, a major triad with a major 7th, the minor 7th chord, 2, the 3 minor 7th chord, the 4 major 7th chord, major 7th chord, the 5 the dominant chord, the 6th A minor in the key of C, minor 7th chord, and then the 7th, which is half diminished, not just diminished, it's a diminished triad with a minor 7. What is a dominant chord? The main dominant chord in the scale is G7, right? And the reason why it's a dominant chord, it's because it's alone, itself, isolated. It is a very tense chord. It requires resolution. By being a major chord, it has the major 3rd, and by having the 7th or minor 7th, those 2 notes, the major 3rd and the minor 7th, together create what we know as a tritone. It's an augmented 4th or diminished 5th interval, and that's very unstable. You hear this and you want to resolve, right? You don't want it to stay there. The way it resolves is by the bass going up a 4th, a perfect 4th, or down a perfect 5th. So it's a very strong movement, or right? So you hear that sense of resolution. Now, secondary dominants are dominant chords that do not belong to the scale, but somehow they play a role, they have a function towards one of the chords of the scale. The second chord of the major scale, the C major scale, is D minor. What we are trying to do is, if I am going from C major to D minor, from 1 to 2, can I somehow prepare that 2 with a dominant or the dominant of the 2? Yes, I can. The problem is that chord doesn't belong to the scale anymore. But even though it's out of the C major scale, you feel a sense of resolution into D minor. So you're still going around the key of C, right? So D minor, the 2 of C, what will be the dominant chord for that D minor? It's the 5 of D minor, which is A. Now, in the key of C, A would be an A minor chord, but in this particular case, it has to be an A 7th chord. Now I have a C sharp in it, if that makes sense to you. So, A minor is 6, is the minor 6 in the key of C major. But A7, which now has a C sharp, that one in the key of C is the 5 of 2. So, here's an example for you. Imagine this melody here. Very simple. And the harmony should be C major, going to D minor. When I play that C major, you don't know where I'm going after that, right? I could have gone to F. You don't know until I get there. Now, if I want to prepare, again, that's the word I'm going to use because the dominant prepares the arrival of something else. If I want to prepare that D minor with the dominant chord, which we already know it's A7, and I do this, now somehow I'm telling you where I'm going. When I play that A7 chord, you already know what to expect. Oh, he's going to D minor because I played 1, then I played the 5 of 2, which implies going to 2. If I don't go to 2 after all, that's called deceptive cadence. Then I'm going elsewhere. But we'll talk about that later. Okay? So 1, 5 of 2, resolving on 2. And then I can move on to the next section. Okay? If I decide to go to E minor, the 3 of the key of C, what is the dominant chord that prepares E minor? If you go down a perfect fourth, B7. So it's a chord with 2 sharps. So it's super out of the key of C major, but still works. If I'm going to the 4 of C, which is F, what is the dominant chord there? It's C7. Very careful with that, because this is C with the major 7th, C7. They are not the same chord. So if you find a C7 in the key of C major, that's not a 1 chord, okay? That's a 5 chord. If it's a C with a major 7th, that's a 1 chord. One more chord, the 5 of 5, because the 5 can also have a 5 preparing it. So if I'm in C major and I'm going to G, that G7 can be prepared by a dominant chord. What would that be? D7. That's something you see in classical music all the time. So you would have right, so we have 1, 4, 5 of 5. And then, so once again, even though D7 with that F sharp does not belong to the key of C, it plays a function in the key of C by preparing 5, which does belong to the key of C. Okay, so we're just finding a way to get to the chords within the scale. In the key of C, we can go to A minor by playing the 5 of A minor, which is E7. Also very common, you hear that a lot. So for example, 1, 4, 5 of 6, 6, 2, 5, and 1. Finally, you would think of the 7th as having a possible dominant. Turns out the 7th chord, which is the half diminished chord, does not have a dominant that would prepare it. The reason is very simple. The most important thing about a dominant chord and the tritone is that it must resolve, right? So you have a tritone and you feel a resolution, and you can feel that resolution either on a major chord or a minor chord. Now a half diminished chord will give you a strange resolution that is not really a resolution. It will be this. So if I try to resolve the G7, the dominant chord, into a half diminished chord, that doesn't resolve the tension that I had. So we do not use a dominant chord going to the 7th of the scale. So secondary dominants, there are 5 of them. 5 of 2, 5 of 3, 5 of 4, 5 of 5, 5 of 6. Of course, 5 of 1 exists, but that's not a secondary dominant. That's the dominant of the scale. So that's just the 5. And we call all of them exactly that. A7 in the key of C, is 5 of 2. B7 in the key of C is 5 of 3. C7 is 5 of 4. D7 is 5 of 5. And E7 is the 5 of 6. I hope that's clear. So you see there now the chords. It's in C major. It starts with the C, and it goes to an E chord. Now, it's not the E minor that you expect. It's not the 3. That E chord is a dominant chord. It's an E7 chord. This chord is the 5 of another chord in the key of C, and that would be A minor. So you would expect it to go to A minor. The way we analyze it is we put an arrow from the dominant chord to its resolution. Okay? So the arrow means that a dominant chord is resolving by perfect fourth on the bass. Perfect fourth up, perfect fifth down. It doesn't matter. They're the same thing, right? Then we put an arrow on that, okay? The resolution. From the 5 to the chord where it resolves. However, this chord, A, it should go to A minor, but surprisingly, that's a deceptive cadence. It goes to A7 to another dominant chord. So, yes, you do put an arrow there because the dominant E resolved by perfect fourth up into an A. It's just that the A had a surprise in it. And the A7 now in the key of C is what? 5 of D minor. So 5 of 2. Does it resolve there? Yes. So put an arrow again from A7 into D minor, and that's the 2 of 2. So in these first 4 chords you have C, and then E7, and then A7, D minor. Analysis. C is the 1 chord, E7 is the 5 of 6. Here goes an arrow, you can write 5 of 6. Then there's an arrow that goes to the next chord, which should be 6, but it's not. Now it's 5 of 2. And then you put an arrow to the next chord, which is 2 minor 7. So now you can go on and finish analyzing this first half of the song and see what you find there.